Since some people have been asking what exactly Papercraft and Papercraft stuff is, mostly in my friend circle, I figured I would just do a couple of videos on it since my video camera takes really bad pictures. First off, Papercraft usually is making three-dimensional objects out of 2D pieces of paper, usually cardstock. The program I use, Papercraft, prints out a three-dimensional image with a bunch of little numbers corresponding with edges. Let me get that in the camera. Hopefully, when you're all done, it will look similar to the model you started with. I use just regular Walmart colored cardstock. I think it's 110 weight. Most people recommend 120. Really whatever you can find as long as it's thicker than regular paper. Some of the experiments I've been doing is to see what can cover the pink or purplish foam sheets you can get from Home Depot. And I found that the resin smooth cast can cover the foam without too much damage. I didn't notice any degradation or melting in it whatsoever. I did find out that Smoothcast 320 dries really fast, which is why there's a large clump of it in the middle. This is good if you want to make your props out of these foam sheets because they're pretty inexpensive for the amount of foam you get, and want to cover it with something to make it a little bit more durable. As you can see, it's pretty smooth. It's not really chunky or anything. Taking a step back, going back to the Papercraft stuff, some people recommend using super glue when you attach the individual pieces of paper together, and other people recommend using tacky glue. I am definitely one of the people recommending to use tacky glue, since this won't bond to skin as well or as fast as super glue, and this also gives you some leeway in case the seam doesn't match up correctly. Some of the other important tools to use while you're doing Papercraft: X-Acto knife. You will be going through a lot of these blades because since you're going through paper and paper really does dulls blades. That's one aspect. And one, you really want a sharp tip on your blade, since that's going to be doing the majority of your cutting. You don't want it to snap or crack or anything or skip, because the rest of the blade is still sharp and can cut you. Next most important tool has little to do with Papercraft. It's a clay modeling tool. I've been using this thing religiously through my last couple of Papercraft models. The curved edge doubles as your finger when you have to get into those hard to reach places and you need to apply pressure for those inside seams. And the straight, flat, tapered edge, I guess is the best way for it, because it's not really sharpened. Helps score the lines so you get a sharp fold when you need it. And both of these sides I've used quite often, and they've both helped a lot. I also ran into a problem with some of the experiments of wondering, what I could use to strengthen the resin and foam a little bit more. So, looked around and I found a couple of guys online that recommended using fiberglass mat. Grabbed this at Walmart, AutoZone, really any automotive repair place, and it's a woven structure of strands of fiberglass. And it's not that, dangerous to hold. It can break apart when you're cutting it, but overall it's pretty strong. My problem that I then had to face was, how am I going to get it to hold onto the foam as I pour the resin over it? Looking around and trying a bunch of different craft glues, I found that Elmer's Craft Bond spray adhesive works pretty well. I sprayed it on here and covered the pieces with it. You'll notice that the foam didn't seem to really eat away, kind of held its shape, which is good because you don't want your prop to melt as you're working on it. And the pieces are pretty held on snug there. They're not really going to fall off anytime soon, and it should hold while you're covering it with resin. But we'll see today as I do a couple of experiments. Now, smooth cast 320, 321, 322, whichever type of smooth cast you look for, is a two-part process. You have your part A and your part B. Now the reaction starts once you've mixed part A and part B together, and once that happens you have, depending on which version, anywhere from about 10 minutes to about an hour of work time. Really, you have a little less than that. For Smoothcast 320 you have about 8 minutes rather than 10 minutes, because at the 10-minute mark it's solid. You really can't move it around anymore. Some of the tools that's really helpful when working with these: popsicle sticks, stirrer sticks, scrap pieces of wood. Metal might be able to work, but metal is usually more expensive. I picked up a box of like 1,000 of these for a couple of bucks. Cups to mix the individual parts in. I've taken a couple of these wax cups and lined them with aluminum foil so they can be reused, because nothing sticks to aluminum foil. And I've learned not to use wax cups. If you use wax cups, make sure you line them, because the wax will actually start mixing with the resin parts and can screw up the bonding process. Now, usually with this you want to use gloves, because with gloves you don't have to worry about any of the stuff getting stuck on your hands. This stuff is rated to be used inside and safe in the US. A couple of places in Europe that have deemed it hazardous enough to use a respirator. I've used this without a respirator and I haven't noticed really any fumes. You still should use it in a well ventilated area. So a closed-in office space might not be the best place to use it. But if you got a window open and a fan, you're more than good. I've set up some area to start working on the resin. I figured I'd mix it up and show some of what it actually does on camera. So, take some of part A. After we shake it. Of course, all the bottles say, shake well before use. And I have a cup labeled A, so I don't get confused. Just gonna pour a little bit in there, not that much, because remember you're adding trying to add equal parts of either, so you don't want to add too much of one and not enough of the other. So put that A aside. Just about the same with part B to cup B. I get my mixing cup, part C, and I mix two of them together. I'm going to try to get as much as you can of each, so you can get proper mixing. Yeah, when you handle popsicle sticks, and you'll know that it's completely mixed, once it takes on a golden color instead of two separate parts like oil and water. And once you have it completely mixed, maybe if I can get it on camera there, it's a clear golden color. And once you have that, I'm going to take a crappy brush. You don't want to use a foam brush because it will eat away at the foam sponge brushes. Put a little bit on the brush. And go to town.
It's just a jump to the left. With your hands on your hips.
So you'll notice once it starts drying that the brush will basically become useless at that point, because once it's cured it's going to be rock hard. The smooth cast 320 has a very small work time. It's already hardened up in this little bit of time that I've been talking and working. I would be careful with this stuff because it does heat up. You will feel it through whatever container you're using. So paper isn't the best, and if you have to use paper, try to line it. And the little bit I've covered, except for the part that was of course wasted because it's now curing, I've covered a 12-inch by 8-inch so triangle and part of the forearm of a costume. I do recommend, if you're going to use this product, to get a longer cure time. Try for the 321 to the 320 instead of the 321 to the 322 smooth cast, because if you're not familiar with the stuff, using the 320 can be very disconcerting, very frustrating when it starts curing in the middle of working with it. But you can use a lot of this stuff for a lot of different applications, and it goes a long way since it is a two-part mixture. So that's about it for this video. I hope to be making other ones as I progress further, and hopefully it will teach people something to know.